2012 Renault Master van. Diesel, they're all diesel. We're going to remove the gearbox to change the clutch and the flywheel. Clutch separates here from the engine, but the gearbox won't come past the subframe. So we're going to have to remove the subframe first. We're going to take the wheels off. We're going to take the bottom ball joint bolts off and loosen those. We're going to leave the steering rack behind. We're going to leave the anti-roll bar behind. We're going to unbolt them from the subframe. 2 bolts to the steering rack here, and annoyingly 2 from the top, and the anti-roll bar ones from the top. There's also a gearbox mounting. I'm going to loosen that, leave it with the vehicle. An engine harness, loosen that, leave it with the vehicle. Once all that's off, we can remove the subframe. That'll give us loads of room around the engine and gearbox. Gearbox has a mounting to the chassis here, and the engine has a mounting to the chassis here. So it can hang quite happily when the subframe's removed. There's one link here, which is like a torque stop, links the engine to the subframe. We'll get that out of the way. The engine will rock, but it'll be fine. Once we've done that, we can support the engine and gearbox with stands. We can take the gearbox mounting off this end, and we can lower it all down. Then we can get everything on top of the gearbox. We can do it all from underneath. And we'll remove the clutch slave cylinder, hydraulic pipe, remove the gear linkage cables, any electricals, reverse lights, such like. There's an earth strap that has to come off. There's a bunch of pipes here can come off and out of the way. Once that's hanging down, all that's off, we can remove all the gearbox bolts, bring the gearbox out on the stand and onto the floor, then replace the clutch. I'm doing this on a car lift because I've got one and I'm too old to be rolling around on the floor. If you're doing this at home, safety first, do it on level ground, handbrake on, chop the rear wheels so it can't roll, even throw the front wheels underneath for a bit of extra support. Never ever rely on a hydraulic jack because they do come down and they will squash you. You're going to need 2 jacks, one for the gearbox and one for the engine because you're going to lower it down. This is a heavy gearbox. Get some help off a friend or a neighbour, preferably if they're called Jack. They can use the jack. It's very heavy and it is difficult to line up getting it back in. 2 people, 3 people make life a whole lot easier and safer. I forgot to mention the drive shafts. As I'm taking the subframe out, once I've got the bottom ball joints off and I swing the hubs out, I'll take the drive shafts out then. Sort of as I'm taking the subframe out, just get them out of the way. Makes life a whole lot easier. Always disconnect the battery because you're messing around near the starter motor, which has a heavy live here, straight to the starter motor. If you hit that with a spanner, there'll be flames, there'll be fires and disaster. Just a little tip, I like to get a big table and just lay everything out methodically as you go along the table. And then when you come to put it back together, you just go the other way. Taking the wheel off. If you noticed, I've loosened the drive shaft while I was there. Pulled the nut back quite a bit and then give it a shove just to make sure the drive shaft isn't seized in the hub. Put it on the table and I'll do the same for the other side. Pretty murky back here, so it's difficult to show you, but there is plenty of room above the subframe. When I said gearbox mount back here, I meant exhaust mount. Let's take that exhaust mount off. First of all, I'm going to take this bit of plastic here. There's a couple of 13s holding it, one there and one there. Need to get that out of the way so I can get at the bolt for the steering rack just below all this wiring down there. also a little water pump in behind there as well, just on a rubber mount. That'll need to come off, that can just hang. Oh. There's a bit of forest in here. Right, I've got my stock ribbon extension on the steering rack mount, the upper one. I've got that bit of wiring out of the way. I'll take that off next. There's the bolt. Little look. Yeah, there you go. That's the bolt we need. And of course the bolt is solid. We could disconnect the rack inside the vehicle and bring the rack with it, but that would mean disconnecting all the hydraulic hoses. For the sake of 2 bolts, just leave it hanging. Then get the bottom ones off. Yeah, full of water. I'm going to take the anti-roll bar bolts out, 2 each side, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Anti-roll bar bolts are out, both sides. While I was in there, took the mountain bolts out for this pump thing, and the exhaust hanger as well. 1 there, and 1 there, so that can just hang by itself. And that's nearly it for the subframe. Is this torque stuff thing? I'll whip that out next. That's the torque stop out of the way. As I was saying, I've just laid everything out on the table. Wheel nuts, drive shaft, steering rack, 2 up, 2 down, exhaust mounts, anti-roll bar mounts, torque stop. Right, I've been round. I've given everything a wiggle just to make sure there's nothing holding on the subframe. Bolts loose, that's loose. Steering rack is definitely loose. Yeah, so I'm fairly confident there's nothing holding that or nothing bolted to that subframe. I put my jack stand under it. Now I've got that main bolt to get out, which is 24, and there's another main bolt up there, which is a 21. Why not make them the same? Anyway, 4 of those, 2 this side, 2 that side. All that will be holding it is these bottom ball joints. So I need to give them a whack with a hammer to release them, and our whole subframe should lower down. Good. You can buy a tool for doing that, but I'm old school. Oh, straight out on that one. Nothing's still attached. Occasionally, this is balanced on my jack stand. Yeah, she's good. See, there's the anti-roll bar, steering rack, and I'll just tie all that up out the way with a couple of bungee cords, so it makes life easier getting the gearbox out. Now we can see everything. There we go. Full vision, full view. You can see everything in the gearbox. All this pipework and junk, we'll just tie it up out of the way. And what at the bit where we want to be at. Like I said, there's loads of room around it. See what we're doing perfectly. I'll tie those up out of the way and then we'll whip the drive shafts out. Turns out subframe's really good at catching twigs, rocks, general. Yes. So you wonder, does this one go off road a bit? Alpaca. Okay, before I go any further, I'm going to drain the gearbox oil. That's where you refill it to make sure that covers, and that's where you drain it. Because I'm pretty sure when I pull the drive shafts I'm going to get covered in gear oil, which isn't pleasant. Oh dear. Don't think it's meant to be that colour. This vehicle's definitely done some deep water clogging. Just as well we drained it, it's full of water. This side drive shaft. Loosen this bolt off. It's like a clamp. It holds the gearbox, holds the drive shaft here to the back of the engine. Okay, you can now take the strap off of this 13. This pipe's holding this 13. Okay, before I support this with the gearbox stand, I'm going to take out these bottom bolts because I won't be able to get at them. Three bolts holding the gearbox to the engine. There's another one up there. Take that out as well. It looks like it's got some water pipes attached to it. Take that nut off, pull it out of the way, and that stuff will probably come out. I've got my gearbox stand holding the gearbox. I can take out the gearbox mount bolts. Full of water. Okay, that's the gearbox free of the chassis now. Just going to gently let this down a bit. Okay, that should come out big. I'll have to get all that off. Right, so got that out of the way. Tie these pipes up and get to our gear linkages. Last few bolts, reverse light switch, and we are ready to come in. Okay, I've disconnected that electrical switch off the top of the gearbox. tied these pipes up, which are power steering pipes, with a bungee, tied all that lot up with a ratchet strap and pull it out of the way. All we need to do now, pop these gear links off. There's two of them, one that way, one pointing up and down. And if I undo these two, that one there, there's bound to be one on the back. They're holding the outer sleeves of the gear change cables. Hopefully that'll just lift them out of the way and I can tie them up. And after that, gearbox bolts across the top, not forgetting to take out the clutch threads on the pipe. And there's one gearbox bolt down here. Get that one out as well. Do that. A bit tricky to see. I'll pull this clip back here. That should release the hydraulic pipe. Take it out completely. There you go. Let's just release it. Pull it. Push that back in so you don't lose it. That is a new slave cylinder to go in, so it's not too much of a problem. You do lose it. This pipe when the clip's off at the top. And I'll clamp it to stop it leaking all the fluid out of the reservoir. And it's clamped and up and out of the way. Just notice there's a wiring loom up the back. That 10 there, I think there's another one further over, holds this big cluster of wiring. I've loosened that and lifted out of the way. And this gear linkage support, taking those two out, that one and that one, and it still won't release, so there's another one, and I think it's pointing down, and it's behind that wiring harness that goes across the back. So let's get that wiring harness out of the way, see where we're at. Right, I've got all that wiring, cables and rubbish all bungeed out of the way. About to see what the next bolt is there. You can see a stud with a wire in front of it, and then there's another stud to the left, one there, and there's a bolt just there, and there's another one just there. So it's a bit dark, just there. I'll get them out. Still got the one down the back to take out. Take that out first. That one there. And that should be the gearbox free. Ready to come out. And once I've done that, because I'm taking the gearbox off, there'll be only one engine mounting supporting the engine. So I'll put another stand under here. There's actually two down the back. There's one there, and that one that I've taken out. That's definitely the last one, because as I'm taking it out, it's starting to separate. So happy days. The top two, let's see, that actually studs with nuts. 1, 2, and there's one around the side as a stud. They've got an Allen case, something I think, a multi-spline in them, so you can draw them if you want. I think I'll leave them in because they're quite handy for lining things up when you're putting them back together. But we'll see how easy it comes out. Okay, I've got two stands and a block of wood supporting the engine. Can't do it with just one stand because all their feet are tangled up. That's as close as I can get them, but now I can pull the gearbox one out. So we're just going to very gently try and wiggle the gearbox out. And just keep an eye for anything getting caught up on the way out here. Yeah. It's a sneaky bolt up the back. There's an awful lot of bolts holding this together. Up there, just behind there, it's too dark, you can't see it, but there is another bolt up there. There it is. I need to take that one off, and then she'll come out. Out. That was a lot more of a mission than I remembered. think we made the later ones slightly easier, but hey ho, no drama. So, take the clutch off, take the flywheel off, put the new ones on, put it all back together. Yeah, just have to be a bit careful of that wire. It doesn't go like that. Make sure it goes like that. I might just cable tie that to there anyway. This one's a bit awkward as well. I can cable tie that out of the way. Remove the clutch and I'll take these bolts out. That one, and that one. Be careful, it's quite heavy. It's going to drop, let it fall on the floor. Don't try and catch it. It's getting replaced anyway. Okay, I've got the flywheel off. This is a dual mass flywheel and it is absolutely knackered. Moving all over the place. The clutch itself is worn, it's not too bad. There's a lot of rust in here where it's been sticking on the shaft a bit. And the cover's well worn. Now the new flywheel we've got going on is a solid flywheel. It's not a dual mass. Customer brought it in. So this kind of takes the shock out of the drive. So the clutch that's come up to match that has got heavy springs in it, so they can take the hit when you take up the drive. Now a little tip, get your new clutch center plate, friction plate, and try it on the gearbox first, just to make sure it is the correct one and the correct springs. So that fits, that's good. You don't want to be finding that out when you're trying to push the gearbox back in. And also that has come with different flywheel bolts. They were the original ones, they're specific to the dual mass. And as I said before, I've laid all my bolts out, clutch cover, flywheel, kept everything in order, subframe bolts, torque stop, steering rack, anti-roll bar, wheel nut, hub nut, still can't remember what they're for. It'll become apparent when I put it back together. I think that's the earth lead, I think. Anyway, doesn't matter. The gearbox mount and all its associated bolts, kept them in one pile. All the gearbox bolts are nuts. So yeah, let's just put it back together. And I've also got a new clutch slave cylinder, so I'll need to swap that over. Just bolts in there like that. And there's various different tubes just to match what came off, so I think looks like that one's the right one for it. They'll be for different models. The thing I noticed, the flywheel bolts got a very specific pattern to them. It's not like a multi-spline, it's this socket here, which is a 55IP. Just happen to have one in my set. It is slightly different, as you can see. And also all the tools I've used, I've laid them out on the top of the toolbox. So in theory, they're all the tools I need to put this back together. I shouldn't need anything else. Most clutch kits, the friction plate will have stamped on the back gearbox side, so you can't go wrong. But sometimes they don't. So it's always a good idea to lie the old one on the floor the way it came out. So if you do get mixed up, you can always compare to what came out to get it the right way around. It's the flywheel on, bolts all torqued up, torque and wrench. I'll not give you the torque specs, look them up for your individual vehicle. These vary so much, could give you the wrong torque set. Now I'm going to put the clutch cover and the clutch friction plate on. Now we have to kind of line that up. I'm just going to do it by eye, but you can buy a tool that will align that to that bearing there, and you can get it dead central. Usually get them by eye, no problem. And like I say, this has got these studs have been left, which will really help guide the gearbox on. We know it's in exactly the right place, and it should just clonk into place. In theory. New clutch in place, centered by eye, hopefully it's good. Pop the wee bolts up, it's all good. New clutch slave cylinder in, new tube in. When you push that tube in, it'll only fit one way. It's got these little tags on them. Keep pushing it till you get a nice positive click, and then you know it's in there. Make sure all the seals are on the end. And same with the pipe where it's disappeared to. No idea, it's up there somewhere. It has a sneaky little rubber on the end of it. Make sure that rubber is on the end of it. It won't bleed it, it'll just push fluid out everywhere. Temporarily cable tied that out of the way. Cable tied that out of the way. Still got a clear run, the gearbox can move straight on. Oh, there we go. That pipe there, one that pushes into the slave cylinder pipe. A rubber ring on the end of it. Some have just like a little rubber button that goes off it and they fall off very easily and you cannot find them. And they don't come in a new kit. Put a bit of copper slip grease on the input shaft just so it slides in nice and easy and doesn't rust up at a later date. So I'm all lined up, ready to go in. This is where the swearing and grunting starts. Wish me luck. Let's get this thing in. Okay, what I've learned with these, they're a bit of a pain to bleed because the feed for the clutch master cylinder is all the way up here, so it runs out of fluid really quickly. So as you saw, I was vacuum bleeding it. I get the vacuum bleeder on, make sure the clutch pedal is down to the floor, just leave it on the floor. Open up the bleeder on the slave cylinder end, set the suction away and keep topping it up all the time. Don't let it run out of fluid or you'll just keep repeating yourself all the time. Keep topping it up, run round, close the valve, lift the pedal and you'll have a good pedal. And that's it. It's a little bit more involved than I remember. I usually quote about 6 hours to do this job. There's a couple of stuck bolts, what have you. That's just the way it is on these, especially on this 200,000 miles, 2012. It's not a new van. You're going to have little snags like that. So it's all done, just need to put the wheels on, give it a road test. The new drive shaft arrived, that's all in and buttoned up. Any questions? Drop them in the comments, I'll do my best to answer them. Any other vehicles that you want to know about, I'll do a video if I've got that vehicle in. And always, as always, help the algorithm, click on subscribe, click on like. Adding comments helps as well, so if you enjoyed it or it's been useful, just let me know in the comments, that'd be great. Thanks for watching.